Hello. The last time I was talking about the ordinary course of a human life and asking the question, do these people proceed? Is there some sort of natural unfoldment? A natural, gradual, gentle evolution? And I think not. And the reason is that people cannot identify their real identity inside. And because they cannot, there is no basis upon which to make any kind of evolutionary change. In other words, if you don't know who you are, then how can your actions lead to the improvement of who you are? In society, there is a lot of conflict. People are angry with each other, they find fault with each other, they judge each other, they struggle and resist each other. But actually, those negative feelings that flow throughout society are misattributed. They are projections, meaning that you see your own feelings in the face of somebody in front of you, and there is this kind of confusion of identity. Who is really causing the problem? That is unclear. It is as if society has degenerated so that all the identities and all the feelings are shared collectively. They flow from one to another. And so human beings live in this endless struggle, this endless war from one to another, and it never gets resolved because people don't really know who is causing the problem. And so the way society generally works is the tension in the air increases, as it is at the moment, and people feel very self-righteous and they want to start a war. And then after enough people have been killed, after enough of the economy has been damaged, then collectively they will be a bit sad and they will regret and they will stop for a while before the drum beats of war increase again. That's how human beings work. That is human history. And so, as I was saying last time, I see people walking down the street to the beach. What's the future for these people? Is there some kind of natural, gradual evolution for them? Even if they're not spiritual, are they going to make a little bit of progress in their life? And I don't think so. How can they, if they don't even know who they are? Then on the basis of what can they make decisions that will improve their life? They cannot. And this reminded me of Gurdjieff's story of the ancient Greek fishermen who were forced to spend days at a time at sea, and they would moor their boats on an island somewhere that was close to the fishing stocks, and they would camp on the beach, and they had developed certain games to pass the time. One of the games was somebody would make some kind of conjecture of any sort to pass the time. For instance, why is the sky blue? And everybody would take it in turns to come up with an answer. To come up with an answer which was semi-plausible but had a few good jokes in it that made people laugh. For instance, you could say that God's wife was obsessed with the colour blue and she painted all the walls of her house blue. Or that Earth is really a grain of lapis lazuli. Those people that could make up a story that was semi-plausible and also ridiculous or humorous at the same time, those people were great company. They certainly passed the time. And their explanations ended up being written down. And that was the beginning of books and knowledge, which, according to Gurdjieff, is not a sincere record of the greatest minds that have ever lived, but something that is entertaining. People valued entertainment much more than reality. As people cannot really sense reality, then reality doesn't have so much value for them. But they can be relieved of their miseries. And so, looking at the actions of these ancient Greek fishermen, they are distorting their identities. They are distorting knowledge. Now, this reminded me of something else, which was Oswald Spengler's Decline of the West, which I haven't read, but I read a few things last week, and it was his conception of the different phases of Western civilization, being Magian, Apollonian, and Faustian. Faustian is the modern age, where there is a sense of misery and people make deals with the devil. Apollonian is the classical age of Roman Greece, where a certain immediacy here and now and aesthetic love was present. But Magian was further back than 2,000 years. And Spengler says that then people considered the world to be a cave. And I was thinking about those ancient Greek fishermen. What should they have done as they camped for days far away from home on a lonely island and had to pass the time? Well, one of the things they could have done is pray to God. They could have sat quietly and prayed to God. But I think they would have got bored of that, because that is too internal, that is too still. And according to the law of three, there has to be this movement from stillness to the world, from the passive to the active and back again. It's a kind of breathing. Life has to move, it can't always be still. And so in order to stimulate something, they began to use their more active faculties. And as they didn't understand them, they distorted them. But I think that is a natural phase of development. That can be considered a natural phase of development. For instance, if you want to learn to paint, you have to make a big mess first, trying out all sorts of different brushes and techniques and brush strokes and colours and so on. And you make a big mess. But you learn from that, hopefully. And you slowly clarify things. At least some people do. Some people, like Jackson Pollock, never clarify anything and never have the intention to clarify anything. They are creatures of chaos and don't wish for anything else. Another interesting feature about human spirituality are these moral positions, these lists of rules that you're supposed to do and you're supposed to not do. One of them is that you shouldn't be angry. But the problem is that people are already angry. Anger is a catch-all term for quite a large range of emotions. But spiritual teachers say that you cannot be angry and find all sorts of ways to pretend that you're not, or to temporarily pacify those feelings. But the problem is that those feelings have arisen inside of you, and they're like at the beginning of a new function, or a new path, or a new journey, and all your functions, once activated, have to become owned and integrated with the center. So those ideas about not being angry are not very good. Another thing that I notice is that about human spirituality are all these utopian ideas that they say of Buddha, that he wrote his scriptures in Pali so that everybody could be freed, and that Jesus was a universalist, which is clearly not the case. For instance, Jesus said that the poor will always be with you. So society likes utopian ideas because utopian ideas feel good and they don't require you to know anything. And of course they don't achieve anything either. As Gurdjieff says, this is the beginning of perspectives offering nothing very hopeful. So you can see that human beings are in a terrible mess. They don't understand their own identity. They don't really understand how to be still, nor how to be active. They don't have the sense of development, of activating new functions and then going into them so that they own them. And what is left, the culture that is around us, is on the one hand coming from the mindset of the ancient Greek fishermen, meaning it is all manner of corruption that is entertaining, or other parts of human culture simply represent utopian ideas, meaning they are wishful thinking from people who aren't willing to do the work and who aren't really willing to change. They prefer simply to be told that things are going to be okay. And of course, these two types of cultural output are deafening, and any kind of sincere work is drowned out amongst them. So there you go. Those things that I've discussed today are principal currents of all human culture. So what's the answer to all these things? Well, one answer is to be like Gurdjieff and to go into new places and do new things and master them and develop the taste of doing new things, because that taste will then be reflected in your spiritual journey, where you'll do actual new things inside of yourself. And the other answer is that, you see, human beings tell each other all the time that they should do this and do that, and it doesn't quite work because the entire culture is very unsupporting of it. The culture is a dissolution culture. In other words, it works against sincere people. Therefore, you're going to have to fix that one too, by maintaining close contact with a different kind of culture.